Hey everybody, it is Taylor of Summer Del Sol here. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I'm working on installing my quick release and steering wheel. Frankly, I'm going to be honest with you, this is not my best video. You can see here I'm pulling the 4 bolts from the outside, but I'm blocking the shot. Admittedly, I was in a little bit of a hurry doing this because I was losing sunlight and it was already a big project day, so here we are. Right now I'm working on removing the clock spring by removing those bolts all around that. With those bolts removed, I'm able to separate the clock spring from the steering column. I'm hoping to resell this, so I'm trying not to let the internals get damaged by having it spin around in place. Once separated, I set it gently to the side and removed the spring from within. After that, I tried my best to reinstall this white cylinder into its original position. Cross your fingers for me. With the clock spring removed, it's now time for me to go for the rest of the unit. I pulled those remaining screws to separate this from the steering column as well. With all those screws removed, it was once again time to very delicately remove this from the steering column. I was very careful not to put too much pressure on those stalks when I set it down. With the clock spring and the major assembly removed, it was now time to separate those two from one another. Thankfully, that's just a simple snip of a zip tie, at least with the right tools. You can have all your best friends send you parts and fancy zip tie removals, but if you don't keep track of them, you're just a mess of a person. Sorry, Jim. I'll find it. I promise. In my defense, I later found it inside after having been clearly kidnapped by my mom. Hey. Come on, clock spring, get out of here. That's the ground, I believe. It's still connected to. I'm pulling the ground out of the clock spring now. Come on. Alright. So the ground has a teeny tiny little clip below. Alright. Got the little ground out. Clock spring is free. And there's the clock spring. With those two separated, I now just needed to unplug the wires I so tediously hunted to plug back in. Alright, then blue. And the ground comes. So glad I took the time to plug these in. Alright. It's now free. With that separated, it's now time to reassemble. If I can figure out how to get it back on. Okay. It's like, I put all the screws back in place and drilled them back into position. With the assembly remounted, it's time to swipe the horn connector. Oops. I performed yet again another poor hack job on this to extend it through another wire and reconnected back into its clip. This is so sketchy. Okay, bear with me. I'm definitely revisiting this later. This is so sketchy, but the goal is to essentially rewire the horn to the windshield wiper fluid stock, but that's another project I'll tackle another time. In theory, the point of the paperclip is to have a constant connection with the back of the hub. That looks sketchy as hell. But I have my concerns. That is sketchy as hell. I'll be the one in the Exocet owners group saying, my car caught on fire. With every sketchy thing in place, it's time to now add the short hub. Once I got the hub on, I made sure my paperclip was in contact with the back. This is awful. Once that was snugly in place, I attached the lock nut. With the short hub adapter on, it was now time to attach the backing plate to the quick release. After plugging in the wires to their respective colors, it was ready to mount. So I got that on. So in theory, this should snap in place. In theory, yay! There we go. Awesome. Give it a test. Beautiful. Hey! That's quick release. So I've installed the silver ring that came with the quick release. That'll keep the horn from spinning. And I'm going to plug these in to to their respective setups. It's going to be easier with two hands, but here we are. It's alright, so dark with the steering wheel connected. I'm now going to try remove this nut to install into the quick release. Get all the wires on the inside, and this, of course, to the top bolt. I can't see anything. After finally wrestling that in place, I had a couple of lighting issues. Oh my gosh. So over this garage door. Keep the light on. With my lighting woes resolved, all that was left was to tighten up those hex bolts. So for the steering wheel, just be in. Alright, let's see if I can unstick steering. Oh, let's go. Big hype. That is exciting. Yes. Oh, that's really exciting. As always, thank you guys so much for watching and following along. I always appreciate it. I'm sorry this one was a little bit sloppier and definitely out of order, but I'm looking forward to giving you guys some better videos, and hopefully I'll catch you next time.